Fun was a pop rock band composed of Nate Ruess, Andrew Dost, and Jack Antonoff. Their former band, now defunct, ran from 2008 until 2015 under the labels Nettwerk and Fueled by Ramen. Being host to 7 EPs and 2 studio albums, the group found prominence with tracks such as Some Nights and We Are Young, with the latter being an international smash hit. However, after winning a Grammy for Best New Artist in 2013, the group seemed to slowly fizzle out as their band members sought out their own ventures. So we have to ask ourselves, what happened to Fun? Well, we'll answer that right here on Pop Dissected. Prior to the creation of Fun, Nate Ruess was part of another band named The Format. Nate would meet both Andrew and Jack on the road while touring, Andrew playing various instruments for their shows and Jack touring with his own band at the time, Steel Train. The Format was created in 2000, but eventually would split up in February of 2008 after putting out several EPs and 2 studio albums. The Format's first album, Interventions and Lullabies, released in 2003 and did not reach any commercial notoriety. Part of this is believed to be because the album was released under Elektra Records, which at the time was being merged into both Warner Brothers and Atlantic, so there likely was a lot of internal restructuring going on. By 2005, The Format would be dropped by Atlantic Records, since apparently the label wanted them to put out a hit single, and due to Interventions and Lullabies not gaining any traction, Atlantic lightly felt they could do without the group. The Format's second and final album, Dog Problems, came out in the summer of 2006, and has sold an estimated 17,000 copies, generating a little bit more success than the first record. Steel Train, on the other hand, had a much longer run, being active from 1999 until 2013, releasing 3 albums and 2 extended plays, their last 2 albums gaining traction on the US Heatseekers and indie charts. On Steel Train's second album, Trampoline, Nate Ruess actually provided backing vocals for 2 tracks, Killing Monsters in the Rain and Dakota. Since their dissolution in 2013, Steel Train has only had 1 live show in 2016. The Format themselves have gotten back together and are currently not on hiatus. They were scheduled to go on the road back in March of 2020, but of course have been postponing it for the past 2 years until eventually canceling it. So all the members of Fun all had experience already and had met and collaborated with each other, which is pretty cool to think about. They didn't just randomly get together on a whim. Before having an album out, Fun would open on tour for the band Jack's Mannequin, in which they would perform demos of tracks they were working on and covers from other bands. Seeking out a producer for their first album, Fun approached Stephen McDonald, the producer on The Format's Dog Problems. McDonald was stoked and eagerly agreed to work with the group, being familiar with all of them. Drawing inspiration from some techniques the Format used in their music, Fun set out to create what they believed what a pop album should sound like, and it would actually go on to be seen as the most essential pop album of 2009 by Absolute Punk. Aim and Ignite would come out in August of 2009, immediately charting well on several charts in the US. Critics did receive the album well, believing that it worked progressively within the pop genre, was well produced, and discussed interesting themes within its lyricism. Some critics, however, did note they felt the album would have been stronger if it contained more stripped-down production, and that the effort wasn't as strong as work put out by The Format. In February of 2010, Fun would hit the road with Jack's Mannequin again, and then join Paramore on their headlining tour in April of that year. Fun would then officially move from the label Nettwerk and sign to Fueled by Ramen. Nate Ruess was initially apprehensive about the label switch, as he didn't know if signing to a bigger label would bode well for the group. However, he found more confidence when the label showed lots of support for Fun's vision. Fun would begin work on their second album over the course of 9 months in 2011. This period would also serve as their transition over to their new label. Having been listening to a lot of hip-hop music, Nate Ruess pulled that for an inspirational foundation on the record. Nate would begin with writing lyrics, while Andrew and Jack would create chords and instrumentation off of that. Nate wanted the record to have a more cohesive feel, knowing his own songwriting could be all over the place. So the priority was to keep these tracks streamlined, as opposed to being more long and drawn out, which is likely what led to the album and single successes, as they targeted a more mainstream approach to their music. This approach, as well with the help of producer Jeff Basker, would move Fun into a brand new sonic territory that allowed their music to be more radio-friendly and have their songs not be crammed with too many ideas or concepts or directions. In this process, Fun would evolve from the primarily Baroque pop genre into influences of indie pop, hip-hop, and theatric rock. The title for the album, Some Nights, was decided before any of the songs were created. The title drew inspiration from the idea that people can have varying personalities on certain nights, within the late hours, which is a really cool concept and pretty true. And while Some Nights wasn't set out to be a concept album, the title itself shaped a lot of the direction the band would take with the music and thematic content. By October of 2011, the album would be fully produced and completed, releasing in February of 2012. Debuting and peaking at number 3 on the Billboard 200 with 70,000 copies sold, Some Nights would prove to be an international success. As of February of 2015, the album has been certified platinum and has sold upwards of 1.6 million copies. This time around though, critics weren't as head over heels for Fun's music, Some Nights receiving pretty mixed reviews. A few critics were not a fan of the more contemporary influences on the record, feeling the latter half wasn't as good as the first half. Despite this, Rolling Stone placed the album at 43 on their top 50 albums of 2012. Fun had no prior success with any of their singles, until the release of their smash hit We Are Young, featuring Janelle Monáe. The single reached number 1 on 16 official charts, and has since sold close to 7 million units. The song was cited as a major breakthrough for the indie pop genre, with Fun considering the track their own personal anthem, as it was powerful and unlike anything the group had put out yet. We Are Young would stay at the top of the Hot 100 for 6 weeks, becoming the first song to hold 7 weeks on the charts, selling 300,000 copies each week, a record that was previously held by Eminem's Love the Way You Lie. The track actually gained its first bit of traction only after it was covered by the cast of Glee on their TV show, which proved to be a hit. The song was so sought after for the show, they didn't really mind if the song was a hit or not. We Are Young would be featured in a commercial at the 2012 Super Bowl, and the rest is history. The song would be utilized in a ton of media, quite literally making the song an overnight success of sorts. Their next single, the title track, would again be covered by the cast of Glee, and be used in a variety of commercials, promotions for award shows, and had a lot of live performances to support it. The song was largely a sleeper hit though, hanging out on the Hot 100 for 7 months before it hit its peak of number 3 in September of 2012, also reaching number 1 on 5 official charts. Carry On would be the third single off the record, reaching moderate international success, while the last 2 singles, Why Am I the One and All Alone, would fail to make any impact on the charts. In 2013, Fun won Best New Artist and Song of the Year for We Are Young at the Grammys. Though it may largely be a joke, winning Best New Artist may have cursed them in the long run, because as quickly as they burst onto the scene, they faded away. In 2014, the group announced they were working on a new album. However, by next year, the group announced they were taking an indefinite hiatus for each member to pursue their own solo projects. So where is everyone now? Nate Ruess went to release his own album in 2015, entitled Grand Romantic, which performed fine. He's been featured on a plethora of songs and even wrote on Halsey's Manic and Kesha's High Road. Curiously enough, most recently, he launched his own podcast about the television show Lethal Weapon. Andrew Dost, bear with me, you know I can't pronounce anything, composed the soundtrack for the movie The D Train in 2015, and now he states he composes music for dogs, which sounds like a dream job, honestly. I'm not sure how they swing that one, but I digress. Then we have Jack Antonoff, who remains to be the most active member, holding a laundry list of credits for artists like Lorde, Lana Del Rey, and basically everything Taylor Swift has done since 2014. So this now brings us to the big question: what happened to Fun? Well, there's a bit to unpack here from what I've researched. Nate Ruess's album was created with studio time that was apparently booked for Fun to work on their third album. Nate came across pretty bitter in this Rolling Stone interview, in which he states relationships never soured among the group, but apparently neither Jack or Andrew were happy with Andrew using the group's time for himself. Some believe that Nate was trying to piggyback off the success of Fun, eager to pursue his own solo projects to capitalize on the momentum of the group, since Nate was the face of the group and the most well-known one. Some even thought that Nate jumped the gun on this one, since his album came and went and didn't jumpstart a solo career. Some believing Nate worked stronger with the group as opposed to a solo artist. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Collaboration is key sometimes. It may give this idea that Nate ditched the group to have success for himself, and ended up screwing over Andrew and Jack. But given the success Jack on his own has had in his career, one could wonder if Jack was a much more thoughtful contributor to fun than Nate was. It ties into this idea about celebrity ego and chasing fame, something I touched on in my video on Maroon 5, where I discussed the evolution of their band and some issues with Adam Levine. So is there any hope for Fun to get back together? Well, given it's been nearly a decade since their last album, I would bet the answer is no, especially if the bad blood that exists between Nate and the others is true. But what do you all think? Do you believe the rumors of Nate's ego? Were you a fan of Fun, Steel Train, or The Format? And what are your favorite songs by them? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to get more future content on all your favorite pop stars. And if you'd like to help decide future video topics and get special comment and name badges, I'd love to have you as a channel member. We'll see you next time.